Hey y'all, welcome back to Drawing the Line, the official podcast of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee. We have not been with y'all with a new update in a couple weeks because we have been very, very busy. There is a lot happening in the world of redistricting right now, but we're going to get to it. We're going to talk about Virginia. We're going to talk about Maryland. We're going to talk about Florida. We're going to talk about the very dangerous SAVE Act that Republicans are pushing at the federal level. And we've just got lots to come. So let's get into it. I am Marina Jenkins, Executive Director of the NDRC.
And I'm John Bisognano, the President of the NDRC.
John, it's been so long.
I'm sorry it's been so long. It's
sorry,
my fault.
guys.
It's my fault. I keep canceling meetings. It's our fault.
It's been busy. It's been busy. There are a lot of things happening, and there's a lot.
Do the job mid-cycle, they said. It'll be really easy, they said. And here we are.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. It is great. Everything's great. All right. So let's start with the most recent updates. The most recent updates that we have is coming out of Virginia, where Governor Spanberger has signed redistricting referendum legislation, meaning that there is a ballot initiative, an initiative that's going to go to voters. The election is going to be on April 21st, not too long from now. And that is going to give the voters of Virginia the opportunity to decide if they want to participate and contribute to fighting back against the Trump administration's mid-decade chaos that they have wrought, starting with the redraw of Texas last summer, where Trump said, go get me 5 seats. And you have the administration basically saying that they don't think they can win in the midterms, so they're trying to cheat. This is a really, really exciting update because it gives voters like California in Virginia an opportunity to do something about what's happening.
And just a reminder, it didn't stop in Texas, and I know that folks that have been listening here know that, and we've talked about it a lot. But after Texas, they continued to push places like Missouri has the first, for the first time, Kansas City will not have a representative going to Washington, at least for most of Kansas City. And then North Carolina also. And we will talk about it in a short bit, but Florida obviously looming above all other things. Redistricting is really going to be the story of the future here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is an unprecedented moment. As I live in DC, I know it's like, I can't complain. Biz lives in Boston. I can't complain about winter weather, but we have been having unprecedented cold for DC. DC is a swamp. I understand that sometimes
you can't use that word anymore.
I know.
Unprecedented is over. We're past everything's over. Unprecedented.
Well, but no. So then I was like talking to my mom, and she was like, "Well, what are this is just, you couldn't have guessed that this was going to happen." I was like, "Yeah, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of unprecedented. I'm tired of every day there's a new unprecedented thing that we have to deal with. Yeah. Can we just go back to the precedented times?"
Precedented would be great. What I would give for a precedent.
What I wouldn't give. But okay, that being said, in Virginia, just to give folks the full sort of scope of what's going to happen in this campaign with Virginia voters for the ballot initiative election that will be held on April 21st. This amendment will give Virginia voters the power to level the playing field and protect fair representation before it's too late. So this is it's a really important push. It's a really important part of this movement and for us to take our country back. And Virginia voters will have the final say. This is up to the people. And I think that's a really important distinction to be made with what is happening on the other side. This is not a both sidesism. This is not a tit for tat. This is a moment and an opportunity for Virginia voters to go out and say, we don't like what's happening in this country, and there needs to be a check on this administration, and this administration cannot be allowed to simply bulldoze the American public, which is what is happening right now. So there's litigation ongoing in Virginia over this. You may see something about that. All of that is churning through state courts. It's going to go up to the Virginia Supreme Court. We anticipate and are hopeful for a favorable ruling from the state Supreme Court, and then everything will move toward this April 21st election. So stay tuned. We'll have more information about how you can get involved and help get out the word about this election.
Yeah, you can think about it very similarly to California. And, I'm sure very soon we're going to be asking folks to go vote and trying to tell people why it's so critical that they get out to vote if you're a citizen of Virginia. But look, think about California and the reason to be optimistic about Virginia. I recognize Virginia is not California. They're very different places. But just a reminder, California, 3 months before that ballot initiative existed, no individual in that state knew that there was going to be an election at all, right? And 8+ million people showed up, with that being the only question on the ballot, to vote to fight back against Donald Trump's like pure gerrymandering takeover in Texas. And so we're going to see that in Florida. We need Virginia to take action, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, let's talk about Florida for a second. Florida is, again, a state where, there are actual guardrails in the state of Florida. They have redistricting reform that was passed in 2010. They're called the Fair Districts Amendments. And so under the Florida Constitution, there are rules, and you are not allowed to partisan gerrymander, and you are not allowed to dilute the power of communities of color. And yet they also have a governor who is feeling a little bit left out of the current gerrymandering crisis and wants to really prove, how bad he really is. And Ron DeSantis has said, until this weekend, we should talk about it. He has said he wants 5 or 6 additional seats for Republicans.
1 million seats. We're going to draw 1 billion seats out. Everybody, we get all. It's crazy. He's crazy.
He's insane. So we know that that's coming in Florida. But the interesting thing in Florida to watch is that there are disagreements between the different sort of factions on the right as to how to do this. And part of the reason that they can't get an alignment is because it's illegal under state law as well as under federal law. And so what they're doing is just not going to be like in Texas, even though at first there was this sort of pretend reason that they gave, which is, we're going to do this because there are these cases that say that we can't have these districts where Black and brown voters have the right to vote. And then they realized quickly that was illegal. And so started saying, oh, no, it's partisan gerrymandering. It's partisan gerrymandering because Texas doesn't have a partisan gerrymandering ban, but Florida does. So they're in a different position. And so you have disagreement on their side as to how to even do this major gerrymandering that they want to do. And you have folks in the Florida House saying we want to do this in regular session, which means like during their normal course of business. And then you have the governor and the Senate saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it. We're going to do a special session. And interestingly, that special session will be the same week of the Virginia election. So these are 2 trains that are running in parallel. And, you just can't consider one without looking at the other. And so it'll be really interesting to see how those play off of each other. But folks should be aware that those trains are moving at the same time.
Florida has been threatening to do this for so long. And I think we're going to see maps probably pretty soon from them as to what they're planning to do. They have... I think what we saw over this past weekend, was Governor DeSantis took to Twitter to express anxiety, it seems, which was bizarre for him if you ever look at his social, because of a special election in Texas. And there was a special election in Texas in which Donald Trump won that seat, a state Senate seat, by 33 points, and a Democrat won last Saturday, whatever day it was. And I understand why people are scared if you're a Republican and you're going to face election here in less than a year. You look, the policies that you've been putting forward, every part of this administration is disliked by the American people. And so, of course, you should be worried about an election. And Ron DeSantis seems to understand that and feel it a little bit. So his tweet was expressing more caution than we've seen. Whereas like just a month ago, he was like, we're going to take 5, 6, 9 seats out of Florida, every seat. And now he's like, well, I don't know, maybe, we're going to take some.
Yeah.
And look, again, to Marina's initial point, it's going to be illegal. This is the reason they've been flailing constantly. They have no rationale to do this. There's no reason for Florida to pick up the pen at all. It's like, he's just...
And the map is already a gerrymander. Like this is
gerrymander now.
They already have a map.
And I know I feel like I say this constantly, And, you know, I get questions a lot where people are just like, why can't they just stop? And look, we would love for that. We didn't want this war in the first place. I think we're faced with fighting it and trying to engage and do everything in our power to ensure that this republic remains a democracy and that you can still achieve the speakership or the majority in the House of Representatives despite terrible gerrymanders across the country. We're using every tool at our disposal to make sure that that's not completely locked out of power. But of course, we'd love for it to stop. But with people like Ron DeSantis out there pushing forward, there's no way.
I was going to say nobody asked for this, but Donald Trump asked for this.
Trump asked for this. Nobody asked for this. I mean, voters didn't ask for this.
No.
You don't see like polling that's like, please come like gerrymander Florida. It's not there. It doesn't exist.
So that was interesting to see, you know, generally to see folks on the right react to, I think what is now becoming a real pattern of voters showing up and showing out on the polls in a way that blows out of the water the prior expectations of particular districts or performance. And the other good news that we got over the past week was in Florida, there is a case where there's a challenge to the census. And so one of the things that DeSantis had been doing and some folks like him had been doing is saying like, well, there's something wrong with the census. Again, it's to this point of like needing to find some reason for them to do this, some explanation other than just pure partisan greed and, you know, addiction to power. And the reason that he'd sort of started batting around was like, oh, there's something wrong with the census and like the census data was not good and Florida should have had more districts and, you know, this needs to be redone and we need a new census. And there was like a moment last year where people did get nervous because, you know, this administration has been so insane that you start sort of things that people would say before and you'd be like, no, that's too crazy. And like now you have to be like, oh no, that might happen. Maybe. They might actually do that. And one of the things that, you know, we were thinking about in that regard was whether or not they would just call a new census. I mean, it is truly insane. The census is the largest, like, non-wartime, you know, domestic effort that the federal government engages in. It's a massively expensive undertaking. It's a logistically incredibly comprehensive and complicated endeavor. And yet you had these folks, sort of these politicals, like, throwing around like, oh, we just need a new census. And so a number of cases have been brought trying to sort of make that argument that there's something wrong with the 2020 census. And the first of those cases to be dismissed, I say the first because I do expect that this should be the outcome in all of these other dumb cases. And there's a case that was dismissed and in the district court for the Middle District of Florida. The case was brought by University of South Florida College Republicans, and they were seeking to overturn the 2020 count, which, by the way, was conducted while Trump was president. So, like, you know, I mean, they're just now like shooting themselves in a barrel. Like, it just is so absurd. But that was good. The case was dismissed. It's great. It was a stupid case. It should have been dismissed.
It is. There were more. It's the part about the census that I think folks need to appreciate and remember is it is genuinely a 10-year undertaking. Like, people start planning for it when the census ends. You begin the process of planning. Obviously, you have more at work as you get closer to it, but it's like there's ongoing work with the census at the Census Bureau the entire time. And given the way that Congress, or given the way that the census is implemented in this country constitutionally, I should note, the census is meant to be a snapshot. They try and take the census very, very quickly. It's specific. They try and take an absolute snapshot of where the public is at any given moment, right? So that's what makes these cases so crazy, is that, like, you get Ron DeSantis like 4 or 5 years after the census happened, and he's like, people moved. It's you have to understand, it's not exactly the same as it was in the census. And it's like, no shit, man. That's not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to take a single moment in time and tell you exactly how many people are in this country and what they do, all the other questions that come with the census, right? That's what it's supposed to do. That's why it happens every 10 years and not every 2, because it's this massive undertaking. And so, like, the idea either that you're going to do another census was insane. It would have cost an additional, like, I think the estimates were like $5 billion. And like the time actually didn't work. You couldn't do it. And then the idea that you can litigate on some kind of change to the data or population is so bizarre when it's so obvious that they're just scrapping for like, we got to redraw these maps for political reasons. It's like, what are we going to do? It's the same thing that happened in Texas, right? Like they were like, we got to redraw these maps. Oh shit. Let's call DOJ and make sure that they send us a letter saying something. We don't even care what it says, just something. And then that letter ended up being more painful for them than not. But
it's just, and the thing is like, it's very plain in the Constitution. The Constitution, there are a lot of pieces of the Constitution where we have like very good, solid principles, but I think as we've been learning, and you know, they're all sort of subject to debate and interpretation, right? Like we have these strong principles, but then there is some level of ability for people to challenge what those words mean. I'm being diplomatic.
Yeah,
the point is
I've said shit twice in this episode.
I'm trying not to be like just a full-on rage machine. With the census, it's like one sentence where it's like, you do the census every 10 years and you count all the people. Like those, it's like so simple and straightforward, and you cannot interpret it a different way. Every 10 years, you count all the people residing in the United States. That's it. That's the rule in the Constitution. So like the idea that you get to sort of make changes to what, I mean, it just shows how much they do not care. It's like this party that like wraps themselves in the American flag and they're like, we're the patriots. It's like, you clearly do not care what the Constitution says. No regard.
Don't like it.
Okay, I got a little ragey, just a little.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's hard not to these days.
It's good. It's good. Get it out. Get it out here in public.
I know. All right. Well, we've one more update for folks. Speaking of all the crazy things that are happening at the federal level, there is something called the SAVE Act, which is, you know, in the grand tradition of Republicans naming things like the opposite of what they actually are. This is the so-called Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act. And that is moving through Congress, and it is the sort of negotiation seems to be that in order to save DHS funding, in other words, in order to save funding for ICE, the Republicans in Congress are now demanding that, you know, they put this SAVE Act into the bill to try and make sure that this passes. I don't quite, frankly, understand, but it's just like hugely enraging in so many ways. But so it's a terrible bill in a number of ways. It would make it just so much harder to vote, including by requiring you to like carry your passport around. Again, these are like things that we shouldn't have to be doing and thinking about, but here we are. You know, this would make it harder to vote for people who've changed their name. I changed my last name when I got married. Like, it will make that harder. It will make it harder for me to vote because of that. How many people in this country are going to have that issue? And so it's just a burdensome, so crazy,
because they're like, you know, they want you to be a trad wife, and yet you like change your name, and then they're like, oh, that's going to be hard. It's the same thing with kids, right? They're like, oh, we want you to have 1 billion kids. Also, you can't afford any kids.
Right. We're not going to help you.
No,
we're not going to help you. You just need to go have them, and then hopefully you're rich.
I can explain for a minute the debate that's happening is they were trying, the Republicans in the House were trying to attach it to a budget bill so that when it went to the Senate, it would have to pass, or it wouldn't have to get the 60 vote threshold, or it would be more likely to. What is going to end up happening is it's going to pass in the House now, and it's going to go to the Senate, and it is going to need a 60 vote threshold. So filibuster is viable, and we'll see what happens. I don't think anyone knows, but I do know that Democrats in the Senate seem very united against this because it is totally asinine. So I feel confident in that part.
Call your reps, call your senators, tell them you oppose the SAVE Act. It's going to make it harder for everyday Americans to vote, and we shouldn't be doing that right now. We shouldn't be doing that ever. So let them know. All right.
It is amazing to take a beat on that, because like, I've been working on campaigns for a really, really long time. And still, a lot of the shit that I learned working on campaigns is rooted in like 2008 and 2012, like the earliest campaigns I worked on. And it's like every dollar and hour and stress bit of my energy that was spent in that campaign was trying to get people to vote, right? We were like, and it's still that way. Like every campaign we still run, we want people to vote. You're the whole, like you're spending ad dollars, you're trying to knock on doors, you're walking around blocks, you're telling people they have to go vote, go vote, go vote. And then you have this other party that is so committed to the opposite, right? It's like we're spending so much money just to get more people to vote. And they're doing everything they can to depress the vote, try and shape what the electorate looks like. Actually, we don't want this kind of person to vote. We don't want this kind of person to vote. It's like, if they just let all the people vote, it would be a whole different world.
Yeah. But then they wouldn't get to be the deciders of all the decisions.
Yeah, it turns out.
And that's what they want. I know there's so much more, but we've been talking at folks for a while. We're gonna get back into our rhythm. We'll be back with you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like our show, please follow us on YouTube and on Instagram at Dem Redistrict. You can go visit our website at democraticredistricting.com. Our website got a new facelift last month.
Check it out.
Very exciting. Check it out. I know we might do like a little demo soon for folks because it's got some cool features.
Cool.
So go check it out. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back.
Thank you. Bye.
This show is produced by Reed Dudley, Sophia Pedroso, and Manuel Marce. Special thanks to Alex Yang. Editing and mixing by Play Pretend Media. This podcast is paid for by the National Democratic Redistricting Committee.